Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. Today is January 3rd, 2024. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports, and this is Ben and Barry on Football 2024.
Yes, Happy New Year, everybody. Our first show of the year 2024. Hope it's a great one for everybody out there. My name is Ben Dickerson. I am your co-host. Week 17 just finished. I've got 10 wins and 6 losses in week 17. I shudder to try to guess what I'll do with week 18 because you got teams that have already clinched. You've got starters that may not start. You've got teams with some injuries, and you got teams that may not play people because they don't want them to get injured. Therefore, we could get some funny results next week, but that's besides the point. It's almost playoff time.
Well, Benny, the Bias Plus was 75% last week.
Ooh, 75. So 10 and 6 is what, like 60 something?
Yeah. 10 and 6.
Good job.
Was it a double digits? 63%.
There you go.
So, and again, we have Bias Plus beaters and we have a Bias Plus buster. The group includes, these are the ones we got wrong. The Cardinals.
All right.
The Saints, the Bears, and Green Bay. So there you go. Those were the Bias beaters, Bias Plus beaters for last week. And we'll talk a little bit more about that at the end of the show. All right, you ready?
Green Bay was the only one I got. I went with the bias on the other ones.
Oh, okay. 75% based on basically two stats, Benny.
Yep.
Two
That's great.
stats, without
Well,
all.
it's the end of the year. This is usually when you do your best. When everything kind of settles down, the skews kind of get mellowed out. Yeah.
Well, I'll say this much though. That all might change for week 18 because everybody has new motivations.
Yeah, it's going to mess you up. It's going to mess everything up.
All the trends are like screw the trends, So, but we'll talk about that because out of this malaise of different types of games and motivations, I have to pick an intriguing game of the week. So I'm going to ask for your help in this, in that
I got you.
I want to have two teams playing against each other who both have as close to a need to win as possible. Okay.
That's cool.
That need to win has to be there but not just one, not like with Dallas, will be, playing, or my Niners, they'll be playing, second string quarterbacks and all that. I don't want that. There's nothing.
Right.
I want it. Well, these guys have to win. So
right.
That's what I'm looking for. All right, you ready?
Yes, sir.
All right, Benny, let's kick this week off with the scariest team in the NFL right now. And I'm not talking about the Steelers. We have the Steelers at the Ravens. Bias Plus score of 15.2 favors the Ravens if Lamar plays. I guess we should say that on all of them. Or maybe not. Maybe, maybe their backup can beat the Steelers' backup.
The Steelers' backup, who is now the starter.
Now the starter.
So he's actually
the starter's healthy, right?
Oh my goodness, that's a little controversy in itself. There were rumors out that he was healthy last week and didn't want to suit up because he didn't want to be considered a backup. Yet this week, he is going to suit up and he will be the backup. So it's weird. I don't even want to get into that. It's not worth it. The bottom line is reports are already out that Tyler Huntley will probably start this game for Lamar. Oh, by the way, You'll start to notice a trend if you haven't noticed it already, and I'll just say it in case people aren't really aware. Every single game this week is a division game. Everybody plays somebody in their division.
Okay.
Every single game. So a lot of them still have division titles on the line. Some will determine final seedings. So all these are very important. There could be some spoilers out there. Every game's important.
Now, is this a product of AI, artificial intelligence, that they got every game?
Well, I'm sure they planned it that way.
Crazy. Okay.
Okay, so
go ahead.
Steelers got to go into Baltimore to play the Ravens. I've already said that Lamar's not going to play. But let's see how everybody did last week, and then I'll make a determination on this week, so one way or another. So the Steelers had to make the trip to Seattle last week with Mason Rudolph as their starting quarterback, ready to start his second game this season. And he played pretty well in week 16 as they beat Cincinnati. Now, contrary to even my belief, I'm sure I'm not the only one, but contrary to my belief, I thought the Steelers were going to fade, and they're actually still in the hunt for a playoff spot. And their shaky run game got a shot in the arm by going up to Seattle to face their really leaky run defense. So that helped them quite a bit. They took full advantage of it. They beat the Seahawks 30-24. Najee Harris, who hadn't had a 100-yard game, much to the chagrin of people who picked him in fantasy, finally got one. He went for 122 yards on 27 carries, and he scored 2 touchdowns. Week 17, are you kidding me? He finally gets 100 yards. Jalen Warren, the other running back, contributed 75 yards. He also scored a touchdown. Mason Rudolph kept the sticks moving with some very timely throws, and he had no turnovers. Now, for the home team Ravens, they beat the brakes off the Miami Dolphins, who had to go to Baltimore and visit them. Score was 56-19. Lamar was spectacular as far as I'm concerned. Super efficient, 18 of 21, 321 yards, 5 touchdowns. He was strong throwing from the pocket, and he only ran 6 times for 35 yards. The defense was solid, but it seemed like the offense was on the field all doggone day. I'm going to say that I believe that Tyler Huntley can still take the Ravens to a victory over the Steelers. I got to stick with that. The Ravens are too good, man. They're playing extremely well right now. I don't think – obviously, there's a big difference between Lamar Jackson and Tyler Huntley. But I think the way the other skill position players are playing right now, and as strong as the defense is right now, that they should be able to handle Steelers without any problem. I don't know of any other starters that might get pulled, but I haven't heard anything yet. So I'm going to stick with the Ravens to win this game.
The Steelers still have playoff hopes, right?
Yes. Yes, they do. They're 9-7. They still got a shot.
So they're going to come in motivated against a backup quarterback for the Ravens.
They're going to play hard.
I'm sorry?
I said, yes, they're going to play hard.
And the thing we like about the Ravens backup is that they try to have someone who's similar to the starter in terms of athletic capability so that he can run that offense in a very similar fashion, which I think is just common sense. But we know that, Lamar is unusually gifted in terms of speed and quickness.
Right.
It just makes for a problematic game. So the question is, what's his name? Tyler Huntley?
Tyler Huntley.
Tyler Huntley, does he have the mobility to pull it off where he can command the respect of the defensive rush relative to his ability to run?
Now, here's the thing you got to remember, though. Mobility, yes. Ability to break off exciting runs like Lamar may not be necessary. They've been doing that without Lamar doing that.
Oh, I agree with you, but I do believe that Lamar presents such a threat that he impacts the defense.
Yeah, no, I like Tyler
That's
Huntley.
all I'm talking about.
He has enough of a threat to make a difference.
That's what I'm questioning.
Yeah, if he takes off, he can go.
Okay. All right. So it'll be interesting to watch what happens with that. And Mason Rudolph is trying to make me look bad because
Yeah, he talked bad about old Mason Rudolph.
and then he'll turn around and wind up taking the darn starting job. Be like, we don't need to pay that guy. Mason Rudolph will take $2 million and be happy.
During this game, they showed a picture of him when he was like 6 years old. He still looks the same. His face looks exactly the same.
Oh my goodness. Jeez. Texans at Colts by a split score of 3.8 favors the Texans.
We got a tight bias here. We also have big time playoff implications in this one.
So this is on that list.
This goes on the list. Yes, I would agree.
And it's kind of like high on the list too.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, it is. This is the old AFC South, which even in the beginning of the season, when we looked at the teams and looked at the quarterbacks in this division, we said, hey, what the heck is going to go on here? We got a rookie, C.J. Stroud. We got a backup, Minshew. We got Trevor Lawrence, who I thought was going to command a lot more respect, being the most seasoned and accomplished quarterback of the bunch. And now look at this. We got Colts and Texans fighting for a playoff spot. Indianapolis last week hosted the feisty Las Vegas Raiders, and they kept themselves in the playoff hunt with a 23-20 win. Gardner Minshew threw the ball 23 times. He completed 15 for 224 and a touchdown. Also, back from injury, Jonathan Taylor ran the ball 21 times for 96. He scored a touchdown also. They are now in a three-way tie in the AFC South with Jacksonville and Houston, and they will play Houston this weekend. So that's big time implications right there. And speaking of which, this AFC South tie has got to be broken, and playoff spots have got to be claimed. And Houston's going to visit Indy this weekend after they flex the muscles on both sides of the ball against Tennessee and beat them 26-3. Pretty handily, too, I might say. C.J. Stroud, back from concussion protocol, handled himself very well. He went 24 30, 32. He's very efficient. 214 yards. He threw a touchdown pass. They showed some power and some speed in their run game with 111 yards total on the ground. And the defense, which has been beat up a little bit, had some moments. They recorded a fumble, a scoop and score, along with six sacks and 12 quarterback hits and 8 tackles for loss. So they played really well against the run, and they beat the Tennessee quarterback up pretty bad. So, boy, this is going to be a tough one. The Colts are going to be at home. That's going to be big for them. Both teams are 9-7. I said they were all tied. But the Texans look really good. CJ's back, and he's looking pretty good. I like both teams, but I must say, gee whiz, this is a tough one.
Think about it for a second, and let me just say,
yeah, go ahead.
I heard a very interesting report where, and I'm pretty sure it was one of the lady sports reporters who said it, but I don't remember which one.
Right.
Where teams were complaining like, oh, we could do more if we had better talent, and if we had more people, whatever. She started naming the players on the Texans. And she's like, you ever heard of this guy? I'm like, nope. Nope. She was naming people on the Texans, and she's like, they're getting it done with guys that are not marquee guys.
Right. But remember, I did that with you a couple weeks ago. I said, you ever hear Nico Collins?
Right. There you go.
Ever hear Noah Brown?
Right.
Yeah, these guys are making a difference on that team.
Well, she must have heard your report, because she definitely came back with that.
Yeah.
And so excuse me, that keeps that keeps the coach in the running for coach of the year. When
Absolutely.
you got that type of a winning record. Um, and yeah, CJ looks sharp, man. And he's that big, strong guy that can put that ball anywhere. Unlike Bryce, he doesn't need to find a passing lane. He can see over the line for the most part. And his delivery is pretty high. It's not like it's low. So it's up there. And so it's not easy people to block. Now he doesn't get a lot of block passes. But okay, you going with the Texans, going with the bias?
I think I am going to go with the Texans, yes.
Righty then. Okay. This is the first Sunday game.
There you go.
So the Sunday games, let's see, 16, like 13 of them split like 6 and 7 between the 1 o'clock and the 4:25.
Okay.
So you got a pretty even amount of games. I guess that should kind of make watching Red Zone much more fun. You got, less teams. It's why I used to like, the 4 o'clock games where you only had maybe 4 games going on.
Right.
You got to see a lot of each game. But okay, 6 games, not the same. Bengals are going to host the Browns with a bias plus score of 1 favoring the Browns. And I do understand they're going to sit Mr. Flacco.
Yes. Right now, I'm hearing that Jeff Driscoll will probably start at quarterback for the Browns. But PJ Walker's still there. So I don't know if that's been set in stone yet. We might see PJ. We might get to see Jeff Driscoll. My guess would be it's going to be Jeff Driscoll. Anyway, the Bengals, who I believe are still not mathematically eliminated. The Bengals, who I believe are still not mathematically eliminated from the playoffs, did their best against the Chiefs in Kansas City last week, but they fell behind 25-17 with 2:59 left, and they got stopped on downs on their last chance drive to try to pull out the win. They played fairly well, but they just don't have it anymore. I think they're pretty much done. The Browns, on the other hand, have clinched a playoff spot with their 37-20 win over the Jets. And now for the latest on the Joe Flacco Renaissance Tour. First of all, I know I'm loving this Renaissance Tour thing. He torched the Jets defense for 296 yards and 2 touchdowns in the first half. 296 in the first half. 309 total, 3 touchdowns total. He's the first quarterback in 34 games to go over 300 yards on the Jets' vaunted defense. And he's the first Cleveland quarterback to go over 300 yards in 4 straight games. Off the couch. Gee whiz. The defense got a pick 6 by safety Ronnie Hickman, and they recovered a fumble. The Browns also turned the ball over 3 times with a pick 6 of their own, and they lost 2 fumbles. But the defense made up for it in holding the Jets at bay, and they really never had a chance. Even with Jeff Driscoll going, I think the Browns will be able to go into Cincinnati and win that game. I'm going to take the Browns.
Even with Flacco not starting?
Yes.
So who's starting for the Browns?
Jeff Driscoll.
Jeff Driscoll versus Jake
Browning.
Jake Browning. Yep. Sounds like a monumental matchup there. But the Browns have locked up the playoff piece, right?
Yep.
The Bengals have a remote chance.
Remote chance, yes.
Okay, all right. Well, that won't be the intriguing game.
No.
Vikings at Lions by a split score of 6 favors the Lions. Now, the Lions I'm sure they've clinched something, right?
Yeah, they clinched.
Okay.
They clinched, let me see. I think they clinched last week, tell you the truth. Yeah, they clinched in week 16.
And the Vikings are in a quandary about who's going to be the quarterback, I think, now.
Well,
Have they given up on my boy, Nick the Quick?
Well, this is what happened last week. So when Kirk Cousins first went out with his torn Achilles, the plan was to go with the rookie backup, and that's Jaron Hall. But then he got his first start and he got concussed. That's when they came with Joshua Dobbs. Then the Josh Dobbs experiment didn't work. So they wanted to go back to no, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. That's what happened. They went Hall. Hall got concussed. They came with Dobbs. Dobbs played. Then they sat Dobbs down and they went with Nick Mullen. Then they decided when Jaron Hall was good again and they felt he was ready to play, they wanted to give him the opportunity that he missed out on by getting concussed. So they put him back in there and let him start. Boom, 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 boom. So he goes in, he threw a pick six, he lost a fumble, and he got benched. Hence, we're back to Nick the Quick. Oh, boy. Anyway, Vikings only put up 211 yards of total offense. The defense only even got near Jordan Love 3 times. They didn't sack him at all, and they got beat down 33-10. So I think that's the last we're going to hear the Vikings. I'm not sure if they've been mathematically eliminated yet or not, but I think they have. The Lions obviously are still in. They clinched last week. Week 16, they clinched. And then they went to Dallas to take on the Cowboys. Now, I was looking forward to this game. I thought this was a game with 2 pretty good defenses, one not as good as advertised, and one that I thought should have been better, but really wasn't. But 2 really good offenses. Both of them have shown the propensity to put up big numbers, Dallas and the Lions. But I really was curious to see how the Lions offense would do against a defense like the Cowboys, thinking that if in fact they could beat the Cowboys, it would boost their playoff mentality, knowing they have the weapons to handle a good team. Now, both teams went at it all day, but Jared Goff threw an interception with 2:05 left in the game. That led to a Dallas field goal, and they led the lead, and they held the lead 20-13. At that point, Goff then went and drove the Lions 75 yards in 9 plays and threw a touchdown pass to Amon-Ra St. Brown. After that touchdown, they decided to go for 2. And we talked ad nauseum, well, I know at least I have, about that 2-point try and all the stuff that went into that. So I'm not going to talk about that much. The bottom line is it was unsuccessful. There's a whole lot of things we can talk about with that, but it was unsuccessful. And the Cowboys ended up winning the game 20-19. I don't see any reason why. I don't know if Jared Goff is going to play, but the Lions will be at home. The Vikings seem to be unraveling a bit. So I'm going to go with the Lions on this one.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. All right. Next up, Jaguars at Titans. Basketball score 6.5 favors the Jaguars. There you go.
Jaguars got the bias. Okay. What you saying?
Almost a touchdown.
Yeah, Titans are at home, but they're 5-11. They've been eliminated for a bit now. Will Levis lost a fumble that turned into a scoop and score and injured his foot on the same play. Enter old man Ryan Tannehill. Poor guy. He got sacked 6 times.
Really?
Hit 12 times.
Oh my goodness.
And they couldn't even sniff the end zone. The Texans took them apart 26-3. Yeah, he took a beating. I don't know how long Tannehill's going to be hanging around, to tell you the truth.
Who's the rookie for the Texans on that defensive end?
Oh, Will Anderson.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember way back when we did our draft show, I had him rated really high.
Well,
Forget what college he went to, but
I think he's somewhere at least in the middle to the middle upper third of the sack rankings.
Yeah, yeah. He's good, man. He's good.
All right,
Quick,
all right.
got good hands, hard to block. All right. So now Jacksonville. The Jags were on a 4-game losing streak, and they needed a get-right game in the worst way, and they got it against Carolina. They shut him out 26-0. Trevor Lawrence was nursing a shoulder injury, so C.J. Beathard took over. He led the way with very efficient numbers, but they weren't big numbers, but he threw the ball pretty well. They controlled the game and the time of possession with a strong run game, 35 rushes for 102 yards, 2 touchdowns on the ground from Travis Etienne, and 4 field goals from kicker Brandon McManus. The defense brutalized Bryce Young. Here's another assault on a quarterback, 6 sacks, 8 quarterback hits, and he shut down the Panthers' run game and racked up 8 tackles for loss. Ooh, ugly, ugly, ugly. Yeah, I think the Titans are pretty much on life support at this point, and I'm pretty sure that Trevor Lawrence is ready to come back, and I think they're going to play him. Oh, they got to play him. They're in that 3-way tie in AFC South. That's right. They got to play Trevor Lawrence. Taking the Jaguars.
Okay, and the Titans, their playoff.
They're done.
They're
Yeah,
out.
they're cooked.
They're
Yeah.
definitely not an intriguing game.
No.
This there. Going with the bias, going with the Jaguars. Jets at Patriots. Bias plus score of 1.8. Favors the Jets. The only team I had any family that played for. There you go.
Oh boy, I tell you, this used to be sheesh.
This used to be a game you could look forward to.
Yeah, this
And
used
you're
to be
looking forward
quite the
to now
matchup.
whether or not Bill Belichick is still going to be the head coach if they lose this game to the Jets.
Right. And there's a lot of speculation about, I think people are pretty much sure that he's not going to be around after the season, not in New England. The question is, where will he go? What's a good fit for him?
But he did sign a contract, though, real quietly in the offseason. We don't know how long that contract was good for. So maybe he won't be, but they'll be carrying some contract responsibility if he rolls.
If he rolls, yeah. Which is still, you know.
I've heard what sounded like some ridiculous conjecture coming from the media. Was it Nick Wright and that group talking about Belichick going from the Patriots to the Cowboys?
Yes, I heard that. Yes.
Is that ridiculous or what? I mean,
well, I don't know. Long term, it sounds ridiculous.
First of all,
him and Jerry Jones would get on each other's nerves.
You would be trading a coach who just performed at like 10 games, 11 game wins, something like that, with one of the highest averages in the league for a coach that just lost like all but maybe 2 or 3 games. And like he's going to come in and lift everything to the next level.
Well, the determining factor will be how far the Cowboys go in the playoffs.
Even if the Cowboys don't go that far,
McCarthy's out. Let's say they lose their first game, McCarthy's gone.
You really think so?
Yes, I do.
That's wild. That is wild. That's almost disrespectful.
Because that's I know it is, but that's been their bugaboo, so to speak, for the last 5 years. Good regular season team can't advance in the playoffs. That's their whole thing. So although they did look good during the season, and although Dak is having one of his better seasons of his career, and the team looks really good, especially offensively, if they don't go far in the playoffs, Jerry Jones is looking at it as a bad season.
Okay. All right. Jets at Patriots, bias per score 1.8 favors the Jets.
Oh, Jets are favored? Okay. Yeah, I guess that makes sense. So the Patriots at home. They actually put up a pretty good fight last week in their 27-21 loss to the Buffalo Bills. Excuse me. But Bailey Zappi got picked off 3 times. One of them was for a pick six, and he lost a fumble. And each one of those turnovers turned into points. Obviously, the pick six did, but the other interception, the other two interceptions and the fumble all turned into points for the Bills. As far as the Jets are concerned, Trevor Siemian started at quarterback again. He threw a pick six, and the Jets defense got throttled through the air and on the ground by Joe Flacco and the Cleveland Browns to the tune of 37-20. Quite a beating for the Jets. Wow. Trevor Siemian versus Bailey Zappi. I'm gonna take the Patriots on this one. I'm not gonna fool around with this. I'm gonna take the Patriots here.
Going against the bias, going with the
I'm going against the bias.
Small bias though it may be. All right. Falcons.
That was a bad beating the Jets took last week. They might not be able to shake that off.
Well, they could be super motivated to come back and maintain a sense of pride, Benny.
Perhaps.
Mayhaps. All right. Falcons at Saints. Bias score 8.5. Favors the Saints. Now, Falcons have a playoff life. Yes. No?
I don't know. I'm not sure about the Falcons. I kind of think they're out of it, to tell you the truth, because we're talking about NFC South here. I think it's a two-horse race between the Bucs and the Saints, and that doesn't leave much room for a 7-9 team, I don't think, to squeak in.
Well, I'm looking here at the standings. The Atlanta is 7-9, but everybody else the Chicago is 7-9, and they have an E next to their team for eliminated.
But the Falcons don't have an E?
The Falcons don't have an E.
Okay, so then they're not mathematically eliminated. Therefore, they have a chance. Slim as they may be, they have a chance.
This is how slim stuff is, and I just want to mention this real quick. When I was looking at all the different scenarios, most of them included a tie. They had all these ties figured in, tie this and tie that. How rare is a tie?
Extremely rare.
Extremely rare. So all these things that depend on the tie, which for the most part is not going to happen.
Right.
I just think was hilarious. So I don't know what's going to happen because it's not going to be hardly any ties, and then there'll maybe be one that'll send the computer into a tizzy. In any event, bias plus score 8.5 favors the Saints.
Right. Now, when the Saints lost to the Rams in week 16, I thought they would fade. I thought that was the last we would hear from them. I thought Tampa Bay was going to turn out to be the class of the division. But they kept their hopes alive for winning the NFC South by beating division-leading Tampa Bay head up 23-13. Offensively, they dominated the time of possession, helped by their defense, which had 4 takeaways, 2 interceptions, and 2 recovered fumbles. I was very surprised at that game. But as good as Baker Mayfield was playing, he was due for a little regression, and the Saints on a bad day and took them out. Now, the Falcons, they had some really good wins this year, wins I didn't think they would get, but now they seem to have really fallen on hard times. They're struggling on offense, and they struggled in this game early on offense. Right now, Taylor Heineke is the starting quarterback. It was his second start after Desmond Ridder got benched. He threw 1 touchdown, but he threw 3 interceptions, and the Bears basically walked all over them. I should say ran all over them en route to a 37-17 thrashing. I think the Falcons are all but dead. And the Saints are in a position where they're feeling good about their chances. I'm going to definitely go with the Saints on this one.
Going with the bias, going with the Saints. All right, that's good stuff. Buccaneers at Panthers. The bias plus score of 14.8 favors the Buccaneers. And Benny, last week, and you'll talk about what the Buccaneers didn't do relative to their offense. But remember, I kept saying Baker Mayfield's playing really, really great. But every time I
Yep.
look at the standings, they're only scoring 20 points a game.
Yep.
Those standings just they talk to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what happened to him last week against the Saints.
There you go.
You know, but wow. You know what? Now I'm looking at this. So, okay, well, let me get through this. So the Bucs lost to the Saints last week, 23-13. That allowed the Saints to pull back into a tie with them for the NFC South lead. The Bucs could have clinched the division title if they had won that game last week against the Saints. But they struggled offensively. They fell behind 17-0 at the half. Baker Mayfield did throw for 309 yards, and he did throw 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 interceptions. How many times do we talk about turnovers being the determining factor? And it didn't get the Bucs into the end zone until the fourth quarter. So you go into half 17-0, and then you don't score a touchdown till the fourth quarter. It's going to be really tough to win. So Bucs will be no, they have to go on the road next week. They play the Panthers, which is a division team, but they're in last place in the division, and they just got shut out by the Jaguars 26-0. They were only able to generate a measly 169 yards of total offense. The pass rush did get 3 sacks, but their run defense didn't show up at all, and they got smacked around on the ground and lost the time of possession battle very, very badly. So I expect the Bucs to go in there and beat the Panthers. Now, here's the conundrum. If the Saints beat the Falcons and the Bucs beat the Panthers, we got tiebreakers going
on. Okay.
I don't know what they are, but
Okay.
there's going to have to be some tiebreakers going on between them. Now, I don't know who won the first game because they played each other twice. So we'd have to go back, first of all, and look and see who won the first game they played between the Bucs and the Saints, and maybe we can figure something out. If the Saints won that game, I would say that they won the head-to-head battle, and they would get the title for the division. If they split, now we're looking at who knows what. So I would put this, well, you can't put either game on the list, but the results of either game mean everything for the NFC South.
Yeah, there'll be things that reverberate through the division and then the conference and stuff like that. But this,
right,
we know the Panthers are not; they're eliminated, so they got that E scenario on them. You're going with the Bucs?
Yes.
All right. The Bears at the Packers by a score of 2.3 favors the Packers. Now, Benny.
Yes.
Fields got everybody messed up. They don't know whether to love or hate him.
Bro. That's the big question. The big question in Chicago is, will he stay or will he go? Which sounds like a song.
Yep.
I'm pretty sure that's a song title.
Yeah.
But actually, we should actually say, will the Bears organization keep Fields and build around him, or will they trade him possibly for some picks and take a quarterback in the upcoming draft? And there are several really good quarterbacks coming up in the upcoming draft. I can't wait to get to our draft show in the future. That's going to be great. But anyway, against the Falcons, Justin Fields threw 32 times. He completed 20, 268 yards and a touchdown. And he rushed 11 times for 45 yards and another touchdown. So he had a really good game, which he's been having lately. With 2 more touchdowns on the ground by Khalil Herbert and Rashawn Johnson and 192 total yards on 37 carries, they crushed Atlanta on the ground. And defensively, with 3 takeaways, they totally dominated the time of possession. I'll mention that quite often because that's a big deal. When you dominate time of possession, that means your quarterback and your offense is on the field and the other team's defense is on the field, usually struggling to stop you. That being said, you know what? I got to talk about the Packers, don't I? Jordan Love's first season as the true starter hasn't always been smooth. And I, for one, must admit again, I didn't think he was going to be very good. But when the Packers rolled into Minnesota this week, he put in some serious work. And he's had some good games. He's had some bad games. This was a good game. 4 touchdowns, 3 passing, and 1 on the ground. Defensively, through 1 pick. Defensively, the Packers had 1 pick, 1 fumble recovery, 4 sacks, and 14 quarterback hits. So that's a pretty good job by their defense. Of course, it was against Minnesota, who I already said is starting to unravel. Packers will be home in this game against the Bears. This looks like an intriguer here. I think both teams have hopes. Wow. That division's locked up. I'm sorry, Lions already won the division. But I believe both teams have slim chances of making the playoffs. Packers' chances are probably a little bit better. They will be at home. I don't know if Justin Fields can pull another rabbit out of his hat. I'm going to go with the Packers.
So you're saying Bears, Packers, both teams have some playoff hope?
I'm pretty sure they do.
All right, then I might have to include them in the intriguing game list. Okay. But you're going with, or did you finish yours?
Yeah, I'm going with the Packers.
Going with the bias, going with the Packers. Broncos at Raiders. That's what you call a slim bias plus score, 0.1. Favors the Broncos.
Oh, boy. Anyway,
Yes.
Jarrett Stidham got his first NFL win as a starter and his first start this season replacing Russell Wilson. The reason for that's a whole nother story. But anyway, it was his good fortune that it came against the collapsing LA Chargers. And they won the game 16-9. Stidham didn't look terrible, but he was far from great. He did throw for 224 yards. He did throw a touchdown, and he didn't turn the ball over, which was good for him. But the offense that averaged 21 points a game under Russell Wilson still has problems in the red zone and still has an iffy run game. Oh, yeah, and they've been eliminated from the playoffs. Broncos are out, so it's not a whole heck of a lot to talk about there. Are the Raiders still – I think the Raiders are eliminated too, aren't they?
Good question.
So the Raiders have been eliminated from playoff contention, so I won't bore you with a lot of stats and stuff from them. They did lose last week to the Indianapolis Colts, who are in a tight race for their division. The score was 23-20, and the Raiders don't really have too much for us to talk about. So I'm going to actually pick the Raiders to win this game over the Broncos. First of all, their own. Second of all, I kind of like the way they've been playing lately, even though they did lose last week. I think Antonio Pierce is going to have them finish strong. And the Jarrett Stidham thing is still an experiment as far as I'm concerned. So, yeah, I'm going to go with the Raiders.
Okay, going against the bias, it's razor thin anyway. Going with the Raiders. Uh-oh. Ding dong. Eagles at New York Football Giants. They're going to come into your stadium, Betty, but they have a bias plus score of 7.3 in their favor. Favoring those Eagles. That ain't even much, though, to be quite honest with you.
Now, okay, so anyway, last week the Giants played the Rams. This one hurt me a little bit. I haven't got my hopes up real high for the Giants because I know we were going to struggle. I knew we weren't going to be very good. Knew we had quarterback issues, among other things. So I haven't set myself up to get too upset. But this one did hurt. My Giants hosted the Rams last week. The Rams have been one of the hotter teams, if not the hottest team in the NFC over the last month and a half. Oh, boy. My guys took the L in this one, 26-25, one stinking point. Tyrod Taylor led the way, keeping it close, thrown for 319 yards, a touchdown, and one interception. They put up 105 total yards on the ground and another TD on the ground on an end around by wide receiver Wan'Dale Robinson. So that alone tells me that they're diversifying the offense a little bit, understanding what they're working with, which is what I like. And they got a special teams touchdown, a 94-yard punt return by Gunnar Olszewski. I think I'm saying that right. I was practicing it. It's Olszewski. And that's a great name for a special teams guy, Gunnar. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, that happened with 3:27 left to play in the game. After a penalty on the point after try, though, head coach Brian Daboll decided to go for two instead. Tyrod Taylor unfortunately short-armed a pass to a wide-open Saquon Barkley, so that didn't work. Now they're down one, but they did get the ball back again a little bit later, and they got a chance to put together one last drive, but they got stopped at the Rams' 36-yard line, and Mason Crosby missed a 54-yarder that would have won the game. Tough. Now, the debacle at the Link. The 11-4 Philadelphia Eagles lost to the 3-12 Arizona Cardinals at home at the Link, 35-31. The offense looked disjointed, and there seems to be no rhyme or reason to the play calling sometimes. For such a talented team, they don't seem to have an identity, and that's something that I've heard talk of. There was a lot of talk of it on talk radio today here in Philadelphia about the team having an identity. Even on Speak today on television, they're talking about what is the Eagles' identity. Nobody seems to know. Now, Jalen Hurts threw two of his three touchdown passes in the first half, and with a 99-yard pick six by safety Sidney Brown, they went into halftime up 21-6. In the second half, the Cardinals scored touchdowns on all four of their offensive possessions, and the Eagles' D couldn't get off the field. Their run defense was non-existent, and the time of possession disparity was embarrassing. Now, I've talked about time of possession battles already several times on some of these games. This one was so bad that I jotted it down. The Cardinals held the ball for 39 minutes and 39 seconds. The Eagles had the ball for 20 minutes and 21 seconds. That's embarrassing. For a team with all that talent, that is embarrassing. I'm still trying to figure out how it's the coach's fault when they call plays that get them up 21-6 in the first half, and they completely fall on their faces in the second half. Obviously, there's issues on defense, and they couldn't stop the Cardinals. That's obvious. But why couldn't they score more points?
Benny, what did they score?
Totally 31.
If you score 31 points in a game, you're supposed to win that game.
That's right.
I don't consider an offense that scores 31 points to be anemic, dysfunctional, blah, blah, blah.
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm asking the fans who want to fire Brian Johnson or whatever his name is.
I'm like, why would you fire the offensive coordinator? It's your defense that's been stinking all year. We know that. And why they even have all of this conversation on some of these shows makes me really question the credibility of these shows, because the bottom line is it's obvious where their problem is. Let me mention, since you mentioned Speak, I'll throw this out there real quick. Joy Taylor, right?
Mm-hmm.
All over social media now. Obviously, I think she thinks she has risen to the position of sex symbol. Okay.
Oh, really?
beyond sportscaster. Oh yeah, she's at the beach and she's got the bikinis and she's doing it all, right? But what made me really come to that conclusion, she was I was looking on Instagram and she popped up on Instagram, right?
Right.
Said subscribe. So I'm like, okay. So I clicked on subscribe and it said $4.95 a month to subscribe to the Joy Taylor Instagram, this Instagram scenario she has.
What?
Yeah. I'm like, Joy, come on now.
Come on now.
You're making all the money. Now you want $4.95.
I mean, she looks good and she's really smart and she knows her stuff. She does. She knows her stuff. She keeps them guys on that show in check. You know what I mean? But that's a bit much. But anyway, yeah, that's funny.
So anyway, Eagles at Giants, basketball score, a little more than a touchdown and an extra point favors the Eagles.
Right. Now, here's the situation with the Eagles. If the Cowboys beat the Commanders, the Cowboys will win the division. If the Eagles beat the Giants and the Cowboys lose to the Commanders, the Eagles can still win the division. Therefore, the Eagles have to play the Giants really hard and try to win the game, but they don't have to. They can keep the seed they have, which I don't know if it's 2, I think it's the 2 seed, and just say screw it and rest their players and let the chips fall where they may. Or they can try to ensure that they win the game, keep everybody in game mode, and hope that they can win the division with an upset of the Cowboys, which I doubt is going to happen. What do you think about that?
Well, now there's a philosophy there that I'm not sure of, and that's about resting your starters and how important that is, et cetera, et cetera. At this point, I think any losses that the Eagles have is going to impact the mentality of their fans, where you might have to close
And the players.
And the players, yeah, because the players are real unsure now about
their locker room's in a bit of a turmoil.
Yeah, and I heard AJ say it's the players, and they had this one play where he's saying if this guy had a block this way instead of that way, it would have went there.
Yeah.
Come on, AJ, you don't know what's going to actually happen. It's because
Acho actually showed that play, and what he was saying was right. But then James Jones, because he said if everything went the way AJ said, if this guy blocked this guy and this guy blocked this guy and this guy picked up the blitz and safety, look at the lane that he had to run. And he was right. However, James Jones came right back and said, this offense is so vanilla, they knew it was coming. That's why they blitzed the safety and stopped the play. Bam. But I'm sure there's no way you can score a whole bunch of touchdowns in the first half and don't score any in the second half, or don't score many touchdowns in the first half, and then all of a sudden, second half, you do enough to come back and win. Some of that, all of that can't be on play call. Sometimes the coach calls good plays, and the players just don't execute.
Well, that happens.
Right. So you can't say, would he call that play? Now, if he calls, a screen pass on 3rd and 20 or something, that's different. You know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know.
And again, I think we're, when you're focusing on the offense and the vagaries of the offense who put up 31 points, I think that's, unfair, because we should be talking defense.
Well, this is more about what their offense has been over the course of the entire season. I mean, yeah, you put a 31 on the Cardinals. That shouldn't be that big of a deal. The big deal is the defense allowing them to score 35, obviously.
That's what I want to talk about.
But this offense hasn't been right for months now, and that's the problem. So I would agree with you. I think it would do their psyche a lot of good if they go for the win, play everybody, and if they win the division, then they can think about, well, then they will have a bye. No, they won't have a bye. Only number one gets a bye. Right. So then you don't rest players, which is probably the right thing to do. and you just go into the season and play a lower seed, or into the playoffs rather than play a lower seed. So I would play hard if I was them. I'm going to pick them to beat my Giants. I think they're going to bring everything they got, try to get the win, and hope for a Commanders upset.
The best scorers in the NFC, the Niners, Dallas, and Detroit, are the only ones in the NFC really ahead in terms of scoring for the Eagles. Now, I'm just talking NFC here.
Mm-hmm.
That puts them in fourth place in scoring, scoring 423 points. Now, San Fran and Dallas have 471, and Detroit has 431. But 423, it ain't bad. The problem is that they gave up 401 points.
Right.
Which San Fran gave up 277, Dallas gave up 305, and Detroit gave up 375. So none of them are even in the 400 range, So, and again, scheme versus personnel, probably a little bit of both. I just think that people aren't focusing as hard on the defense as they need to. You're going with the Eagles?
Yes.
All right. Seahawks. Let's try it again. Seahawks at Cardinals. Bias plus score of 6.2 favors the Seahawks. And like you said, Benny, division, that's that NFC West. Cardinals coming off a big win.
Yeah. Now, this may be a little, we hope we can be a spoiler scenario here going on with the Cardinals. When I saw this game come up here and I saw the Cardinals were going to be at home, and obviously they've been eliminated, but the Seahawks have not. I thought to myself, oh, this might be a spoiler scenario. So I went back and I looked at the play-by-play sheet from the 35-31 Cardinals win over the Eagles. Listen to this mess. They totally dominated the time of possession, which I talked to you about. But on top of that, I don't, you know what? I don't even know if I'm really patting the Cardinals on the back or if I'm looking down on the Eagles on this. The Cardinals got 32 first downs in that game. They scored touchdowns on all four of their second half possessions, not field goals, touchdowns on all four possessions, and they did not punt at all the entire game.
No, not one punt.
None, not once.
Well, if you're getting first down, that'll do it. Wow.
Yeah. Kyler Murray was in complete command. His only blemish was the pick six that he threw in the second quarter. He was extremely efficient, 24-31, 232 yards, 3 touchdowns. Their ground game ran roughshod over the Eagles defense, and their run defense has been real shaky, just as bad darn near as the Cowboys run defense for teams that are supposed to be so good and have such good defenses. They ran over the Eagles for 221 total yards on 40 back-breaking carries. And it's not hard to run the ball 40 times when you're in total command of the game and you hold the ball and have long drives on every possession. So that's how the Cardinals went out last week. The Seahawks run defense is another one that's an issue for the team. They've given up 135 plus yards to their last 6 opponents, the Steelers being the 6th, and they ran for 202 yards on 46 punishing carries. I mean, they took it to them. Geno Smith threw for 1 touchdown, and Kenny Walker ran for 1 touchdown, both of them in the first half. But in the second half, the Seahawks had to settle for 3 field goals, and Geno lost a fumble. And defensively, they had trouble getting off the field too. And they only sacked Mason Rudolph 1 time and only hit him twice. So Mason Rudolph kept a nice clean jersey and had his way with them boys. That being said, I'm gonna chase an upset here. I'm going to take the Cardinals in this one. And if the Cardinals beat the Seahawks, I believe that will push them out of the playoffs.
I keep thinking, my little philosophy of teams that have quarterbacks that can make you play 11 on 11 and have a decided advantage. So it was interesting to me to see the Cardinals go play the Eagles because I think both of those have that capability. But I think that Kyler used his a little more effectively, obviously. And I mean, he was running around out there and throwing some passes. And the one-handed touchdown that Connor caught.
James Conner's a beast.
Oh man,
the Steelers got to be kicking themselves, man. How'd they let that guy go? He still had so much juice left.
And we were seeing him last year as the goal line guy because they were getting him in short yardage and he was blasting up in.
Yeah, he scored a record number of touchdowns last year.
Yeah, it was amazing. Okay, so you're going with the upset, going against.
I'm going with the upset. I'm going with the guys that have nothing to play for. Going with the Cardinals because again, that NFC West is a knockdown, drag out division.
Okay, all right. It'll be interesting.
They want to go into the offseason feeling good. Kyler's back from injury. He's playing well. He's healthy, and he wants to stay there.
Ah, yes. Okay. Chiefs at Chargers. Bicycle score 12.4. Favors the Chiefs, but the Chargers got new people, new coaches, right?
Yeah.
Like that's gonna make the big difference, right?
Well, I don't think so, but we'll talk about Kansas City first because they played the Bengals, who are basically floundering. It was a hat and t-shirt game. You know what a hat and t-shirt game is, right?
What?
When you clinch a division, they call that a hat and t-shirt game.
Oh my goodness.
Because when you come in the locker room, they give out hats and t-shirts to say you're division champs. So it was a hat and t-shirt game for Kansas City. They beat the Bengals, took the AFC West, which I don't know how many times in a row that is for them, but it's quite a good number. Just took them a little bit longer to do it this year than it has in the past couple of years. But the way they won and the way they've been playing, I don't know, man. I don't know how long these guys are how long a playoff run these guys can actually put together. No doubt their defense did their thing. They had 6 sacks, 14 quarterback hits, and 8 tackles for loss. So they did their thing to keep the Bengals at bay. But Patrick Mahomes threw for 245, 1 touchdown. That 1 touchdown was a pass to Isaiah Pacheco, the running back. Pacheco led the team in receptions with 7, and he ran for 130 yards on 18 carries. No other running back touched the ball. Rookie wideout Rashee Rice was the leading receiver with 127 yards on 5 catches, and no other wideout or tight end caught more than 3 passes. Oh, and by the way, Marquez Valdez-Scantling dropped another wide open pass. That brings their team total to 40 dropped passes this year. Thank goodness for kicker Harrison Butker. He basically carried the offense. He kicked 6 out of 6 field goals, and that capped off the win 25-17. Now the Chargers. Chargers, we got a story here. The good, the bad, and the ugly. The good, Khalil Mack recorded his 100th career sack. The bad and the ugly together, the Chargers lost the game to the Broncos 16-9. Offensively, the Chargers had 6 possessions in the first half. They went punt, 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 field goal, turnover and downs, and punt. Come on now. They made 2 field goals in the second half, but they missed 1 and they lost a fumble. There's nothing left to be said about the LA Chargers, except hopefully they can get Harbaugh to leave Michigan and come over there and coach them. That's all they got to live for right now. Chargers are done. I don't know if Patrick Mahomes is going to play in this game, but I'm going to take the Chiefs anyway. I don't care.
Funny, receivers won't drop a ball from the backup, though.
Probably not.
Okay. Rams at my beloved 49ers. Now, they already said Darnold's going to start. The Rams have motivation. They have playoff motivations, don't they?
But it's just not
They
official.
clinched the wild card.
So they're in.
So
So and you know what? I should have known that because I already heard Carson Wentz is going to start.
right.
Yeah.
They got Sam Darnold, Carson Wentz.
Well, I mean, listen, let me talk about last week real quick. Not that that's going to make much difference, to tell you the truth, but anyway, the Rams were almost the latest West Coast to East Coast 1 o'clock game victim, but they squeaked by my Giants 26-25, which we kind of already talked about. It wasn't so much that the Rams didn't play well. They actually did play pretty well, but the Giants actually played really well, and the Rams helped them with 3 turnovers. Even though they won their 3rd game in a row, and they're 6 out of their last 7, they had plenty of trouble in this game against the Giants. Stafford 3 for 317 and a TD. And he also tossed 2 interceptions. And running back Kyron Williams ran for 87 yards and had a career best 3 touchdowns on the ground. The defense held up their end of the bargain with 6 sacks, 10 quarterback hits, and a takeaway. Still, only a missed Giants field goal at the end of the game got them the win. So I was really proud of my Giants, but the Rams did beat them, and the Rams have been the hottest team, if not the hottest team, one of the hottest teams in the NFC for the last month and a half. They're going to bring some of that fire, they hope, into y'all don't play in San Francisco. Y'all actually play in Santa Clara, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Well, into Santa Clara to play the 49ers. Oh, wow. Guess what? I don't have my Niners notes either. Okay. Pause. I can give you a quickie scenario here. Let me go there. And here we go. Okay. Nothing really to talk about here too much for the Niners. They handled the Washington Commanders pretty easily, 27-10. Purdy had a pretty good game, 22 of 28, 230 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, no fumbles, no turnovers whatsoever. The defense played well, not spectacular, but well enough. The Commanders are pretty much a done deal too. In fact, I heard some pretty disparaging remarks about Sam Howell and the fact that Jacoby Brissett will probably go into next season as the starter unless they draft another quarterback or bring somebody in to compete against him. So I'm going to take the Niners in this game. Not only will Purdy probably not play, but McCaffrey for sure won't play. He's got a little calf injury. And I guess they'll kind of go through the locker room, and anybody that might be dinged up a little bit probably won't have to play, or probably may just play a quarter or whatever. But I still think the 49ers are good enough to win this game.
You know, we gave up a little bit of running back depth for, I believe they picked up another defensive lineman. And that running back depth that they gave up was Tyrion Davis-Price. He got cut.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
you got Elijah Mitchell and you got Jordan Mason. Those guys can both go.
Yeah.
Those guys could actually start on some other teams.
Well,
both of them.
Okay. I got to see Mason more. I'm just not really,
Mason could go.
Okay. All right. And you're going with the Niners.
Yeah.
Going with the bias. All right. Niners, bias. Let's see where we at here.
If Stafford was going to play, I would take the Rams.
Oh yeah.
But they don't need him to play, so yeah.
So it looks as if we have another last of the 4 o'clock games. Are those Cowboys at those Commanders with a bias plus score of 25.7,
Wow.
favoring the Cowboys.
What a bias buster that would be.
Yes, yes. In many cases, you would have to score a bunch of points and you still get the buster going with you. And when you were talking about Sam Howell, when I look at Sam Howell's numbers, it reminds me of Jameis Winston.
Yeah.
Ton
Ton of yardage.
Ton of yardage, ton of touchdowns, ton of
Turnovers. Yeah, I got it. You're right. That's crazy. So the Cowboys can still win the NFC East with a win over the Commanders. And I'm almost 100% that all they have to do is win the game and they will clinch the division title. Now, Dak put up numbers against the Lions, another team with a strong offense. He went blow for blow with them. He threw for 345 and 2 touchdowns. CeeDee Lamb was dynamic. He had 13 catches for 227 yards and a touchdown. The other touchdown went to Brandon Cooks, who's turning out to be a pretty good number 2 receiver. I think it was a smart move bringing him in because Gallup really hasn't come back well from his injury. He might get 2-3 catches a game, but Brandon Cooks is the real deal. They didn't have a strong game defensively. They kind of got run over on defense with the Lions running game. And the run defense is their weakness, but they did come away with the victory. Again, that whole thing with the 2-point conversion and all that stuff had something to do with it. But anyway, they did win that game. I'm pretty sure that Dallas will beat the Commanders, and I don't think they're going to have too much trouble doing it. So they will do that, and they will win the division, taking the Cowboys.
All right, going with the bias, going with the Cowboys. Benny, that I believe is the last of the 4 o'clock Sunday games. There are no Monday games. So the last game of the season is a potential intriguing game of the week.
Yep.
That would mean that would be 3 straight weeks with the Dolphins in the intriguing.
Really?
Slide.
Yeah.
I just don't know about that.
So you're leaning toward not doing that?
It's such a good game though, and it's got all the it's a big game with all the implications. You got to win. The Dolphins, the Bills. I'll let you go through the implications. Plenty of playoff implications is what I'm saying. 2 good teams, both are going to be there in the playoffs, and so and I'll just put it this way: my great nephew, Honor, Darian's son, right, came over here, and me and him went at it on Madden. He didn't like playing with the Eagles. Then he tried another team, and I beat him. He beat me with the Eagles. I beat him with the other team. But I understand the Bills is his squad.
Okay.
And, man, he was wearing me out with them darn Bills. Especially, you got, they put a star at, beside their all-stars and stuff like that. And they got like 2 all-stars safeties, 2 deep guys who had stars. So the Bills are no joke. The Dolphins are no joke. And the bias is only 1.7. Very small bias favoring the Bills.
Okay, so since you talked about implications, I grabbed my trusty phone here and I found some. But let's go over what we know about these 2 teams coming into this. So last week, Josh Allen threw for 169 yards. He ran 11 times for 44 yards and 2 touchdowns. That's 11 on 11 football there for you. The Bills ran for a total of 127 yards on the ground on 37 carries. So that's good ball control, good groundwork. Now, you're going to remember this name, cornerback Rasul Douglas.
Oh, yeah.
Played for the Eagles and he played for the Packers. Well, Rasul Douglas is still around. Now he's on the Bills. He picked off 2 passes, returned one of them for a score, and tipped another one to safety Ed Oliver for a third interception. Big game by Rasul Douglas and the Bills defense. Now, the Dolphins went to Baltimore and they got hammered by the Ravens 56-19. It was tough sledding without starters Jalen Waddle and Raheem Mostert, who were both held out for injury. Tua threw for 237 and 2 touchdowns, but he also turnovers, threw 2 interceptions. Devon Achane ran for 107 yards, but once the Ravens started lighting the scoreboard up like a Christmas tree, it was basically over. So Dolphins are coming off a pretty bad beating, not a pretty bad, a real bad beating. And the Bills are coming off a nice win and have been winning coming down the stretch and playing some of their best football. Here's the crazy deal. Dolphins are clinched, right?
Right.
Okay. The Bills can clinch a playoff spot or they can be eliminated.
Which makes it that much more intriguing.
That makes it much more intriguing. If they beat the Dolphins, they can take the division title and the 2 seed. A tie, which we don't expect to happen, will clinch them a playoff spot. A Steelers loss or tie clinches a playoff spot. A Jaguars loss or tie clinches a playoff spot. The Texans Colts tie clinches a playoff spot. So assuming, I think safely, that none of those ties are going to take place, the Bills pretty much, and this is why what we talked about this morning is probably why they said what they said, because most of the things that could upset the Bills if they don't win would be ties, which we don't expect very much to happen. So if the Bills beat the Dolphins, not only will they clinch a spot, but they can clinch the 2 seed and the division. This is a big, big game for the Buffalo Bills. And it is not a big game for the Dolphins. So, except for it's going to mess up their seeding and bump them down lower, which I'm sure they don't want. I'm sure they'd much rather have teams come through Miami than to have to go on the road. But guess what? I like Buffalo's chances here. I think these guys are going to be motivated to the fullest. I'm going to take the Bills.
Small bias and again with the lopsided loss that the Dolphins have, I'm surprised. I'm not surprised that they're on the lower end of the net point range, but this will be a very intriguing game. And the Bills, it's win and you're in. You got right. The world is yours if you win. And if you lose, you're out of here, buddy. So can't ask for much more than that, especially, Benny, to close out the regular season for the 2023 NFL 2024 season. This is the last game of the regular season. So we should have a lot of fun this weekend. A little bit on Saturday, a lot on Sunday. Oh, man, I'm going to have to get a good night's sleep Saturday night so I can be ready, man.
It's going to be a lot of games.
1 o'clock game, 6 or 7, 4:30 game, 2 Saturday games, and then we have the big Bills at Dolphins, and you're going with the Bills on this one.
Right.
All right, Benny. Well, as we close out the Bias Plus reports, before we finish, there's one last piece of business that we always have to take care of. Are you ready for the Bias Plus Buster of the Week?
Yes, sir.
For week 17? Those Green Bay Packers.
Good job,
Packers. Score of 27.5.
Yeah.
You probably guessed that one, didn't you?
Yeah, I had that one right. Yes.
You probably guessed that one. Yeah, because they put the spanking on them. So funny watching CJ Stroud play and Jordan Love play. They remind me of each other. and their
A little
body
bit.
size and body, styles and things of that nature. And they're both having pretty good success, man, right now. So Bias plus Buster scored 27.5. Congrats to the Green Bay Packers.
Good
Yeah.
job for the Packers. Good job, Jordan Love. I'm a fan.
Uh-oh, he's a fan now, Jordan. And let me tell you, that's a long trip for him from where he thought you were to being a fan.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's a whole trip around the moon.
right.
Coming around to the other side. All right, Benny. Let's take a quick look at our Ben and Barry on Football Facebook page and see what we got there. And then we will be wrapping this puppy up. Okie dokie. So, what did you call it? The Flacco what?
Renaissance tour.
The Renaissance Tour. 13 TDs this season, equaling the production or greater than the production of 5 teams.
Oh my
total.
God. Oh,
Oh
that's
my goodness.
embarrassing.
Oh, it's that. And what makes it even more fun, Benny, is the next one where he's on the sideline and he catches
Taking a nap. He'll wake the old guy up. He's bored.
This
He's
is
like, yo,
what I thought.
It's
And they're paying me for this.
like them couple of years I took off, I'm used to taking a nap around this time.
Around this time, you know what I'm saying?
He's trying to wake himself up. He's all like, oh,
I call them nappy naps, just a little quick, short power hit. And you go down and come back and feel so much better. You know what I mean? Ready for the second half.
What this guy is doing is really amazing, man. I don't know if we really appreciate what this guy is doing.
But you know what I'm saying? That I hadn't been saying he has a wristband now.
Yeah.
He didn't have one earlier. So for whatever reason, they've gone.
You mean the first couple games?
Yeah, I didn't see a wristband.
You sure?
Yeah, and I even did some research because I kept looking. I'm like, you don't have no wristband on to see who has them and why they have them. So yeah, I think this was. I don't know if this was the first game, but I didn't see him in the earlier games. So
I have to go back and look for that because I can't imagine.
They might be expanding his play selection.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible early on they didn't even bother because he didn't have that many plays. He had probably had a short list to go by, but now every week he's going to know they can give him more and more. So, plus, wearing a wristband, I'm a fan of that because it just makes the communication between the coach and the quarterback much easier.
Okay.
What he has on that wristband mimics what the coach has on his chart. So he can probably say, for lack of better, play number 17. And you can go right to it.
Okay. All right. And then just he can give out the long soliloquy of the play, but
right.
Didn't have to go through it twice.
Right. Now he still has to call it, but he can read it.
Right. That's what I'm saying. He can read it. Yeah, but he didn't have to hear it. The whole thing come from the say first and then say the same thing over again, doubling
that saves
play
time.
clock and all of that.
Exactly. Saves a lot of time.
So now he has a little more time to take a nap in between.
Yes. Well, he has time to look over the defense pre-snap, change the protection. You know what I mean? Audible if he needs to, whatever.
A little bit of Black history. The birth of Black college football, according to the CIAA, on this day, December 27th, 1852, the Livingston College Athletics and the Biddle College, now JCSU Athletics, played the first ever Black intercollegiate football game in Salisbury, North Carolina.
Wow.
So these are the young men who are part of that history. I don't have a whole bunch more on that, but I'm sure if you go to the CIAA, you can get names and rosters and all of that kind of good stuff. So congrats to you guys. And that was 5 days ago, so that happened.
Cool.
This is the first time ever the Lions and Browns have both won 11+ games in the same season. The last time they both had 10+ wins was in 1953 in the NFL Championship.
Damn. And there was a time or a long time in our lifetimes where it looked like the Lions and the Browns were never going to be good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They
Yeah.
were bad year after year after year after year. The Lions showed a little tiny sliver of hope when they had Barry Sanders. And then when he retired, it was back to the bottom again. I can't remember the last time the Browns were really good.
Well, what's funny when you say that is my girl Cynthia Freeland, our girl, I guess I should say, stat master and is a big Lions fan. And from what I understand, I think when they clinched or something, she was brought to tears. She's literally on the show with tears rolling down.
What? Oh, I
Yeah.
missed that.
Yeah, she was brought
Oh,
to
man.
tears, and yeah, I saw it when they did a replay of it. So whatever show they were at, that's not the show she was crying. They showed a replay of the show
Uh,
where she was.
oh, okay. Okay. Okay.
Yeah, she's a big
That's
Lions
that's
fan.
cool.
So yeah,
That's true fandom.
true fandom right there. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And then she's also like us. She goes by the numbers, even if it goes against her team.
Yeah.
She goes by the numbers. So congrats to the Lions and to Cynthia. So Ben, the Panthers owners threw a drink on a fan. You saw that?
Yes.
Yeah, I understand that the NFL's coming down on him a little bit now on that.
Very little.
I would say very little.
Yeah. What did they
He
find him?
actually threw it.
300,000? 300,000?
Oh, that's what they find him?
I think that's the number. That's a drop in it. He makes that while he's sleeping.
He probably makes that before he goes to while he's preparing to go to sleep. But okay, 300,000 is still a pretty nice sum of money. Even though does the victim get any of that? Or he just goes right into the
I have no idea. I don't
pockets of
know
the
about a personal.
NFL.
I'm sure there's a personal lawsuit, but they didn't talk about that. They only talk about the flack he got back from the league.
Okay, okay, all right.
And he never actually apologized.
No, he didn't. I don't remember him
Yeah,
about
he said it was an unfortunate incident. That's not an apology.
the USFL and XFL have merged and become the UFL, Benny. And this is what I heard The Rock say. The Rock said in the past, between the XFL and the USFL, you would have your on and off years, and there was always a struggle to, finance the next year, and
Right.
he said he hopes that with this merger, with all the money behind it and all the professionalism behind it, that won't become a problem. That spring football will be something that you can, for lack of a better quote of what he's saying, you can depend on to be here year after year after year now with the UFL. So
Now, what's going to be interesting is obviously there's going to be some players that are going to lose some jobs because when it was two separate leagues, they were able to handle a lot of players. And there were good players and good teams and some good coaching in both leagues. Now that they combine, the better players are going to make up the teams. And I'm assuming that there's going to be some coaches that are going to lose jobs too. Now, oh, wait, you know what? Maybe not because the XFL only had what, 8 teams?
yeah, I think so.
And the USFL only had 10 teams?
At best.
Okay, this might work. This might make everybody, if they combine into a 25 league, 25 team league. I don't know. I don't know, man. That's a lot of
The
games.
NFL was 32 teams.
Yeah, but the NFL plays through the entire fall. I don't know if scheduling and TV and everything can handle a big schedule. They still may only be able to play a 10-game schedule or something. You know what I mean? You got basketball, you got baseball, it's a lot of competition for money.
Well, we'll figure out what their logistical issues are. But for right now, congratulations to the
Absolutely.
United Football
Absolutely.
League now in their attempts to make a stronger league that'll be there spring after spring. So spring football will be something you'll be able to look forward to and know who I kind of know who those guys are now because it's the same guys from the year before and the year before.
Yeah.
It's like with the NFL, you know the teams, the players move around a little bit, but you know the teams, and you can build some fan base with that. So, all right, fantastic. What do we got next? Oh, by the way, Happy New Year.
By the way.
Oh my God, I love those shows, those movies. Absolutely love them. Purdy's jersey is in the Hall of Fame, baby. Yeah, I just threw that in there for the heck of it.
What would they do that for?
Stats. He's got great stats. He's
Oh, okay.
first in that. So it's just the jersey. He ain't in there yet, obviously.
No,
But the
no, no.
jersey's in there, so congratulations. That's an accomplishment
Yeah.
for what it's worth. And then following it up with Tyreek Hill being the first player in NFL history with back-to-back 1,700-yard receiving seasons.
Yeah, but he was shooting for 2,000.
Well, you got to shoot for 2,000 to get 1,700, and be the first. I hope he's healthy. He better be healthy when he goes in there with the Bills. I mean, mess around with them Bills and you ain't quite.
Yeah, he's healthy. The question is, will Waddle be healthy?
Yeah, I know. That is a big
They
question.
need that 1-2 punch. And if most of us healthy, then they have him and Achane. They're going to need all hands on deck to beat the Bills.
That's true. That's true. Well, pretty nice couple of days for the Harbaugh brothers.
Yes, sir.
Sunday, Giant Ravens clinched the #1 seed in the AFC, and Jim's Wolverines clinched the spot in the CFP title game. Did they win that title game?
The title game is Monday, I think.
Okay.
That'll take the place of Monday Night Football, I'm pretty sure.
And who did they play?
They're going against Washington.
Oh, really?
And they're going against my favorite quarterback coming out in the draft next year, Michael Penix.
Really?
Yes.
That's your favorite?
This should be a good game. I hope it's a good game, and it should be a good game. Washington is really good. They got Penix, who could possibly be top 3 draft pick. And they have a receiver that's not quite up there with Marvin Harrison Jr., but he's right there.
Okay.
So, yeah, this should be a good game. You got to like Michigan, though, because they run the ball like crazy.
Oh, yeah?
They run the ball. They run the ball. They run the ball. Yeah.
Well, John has a monster on his hands with Lamar and that Ravens team, that Ravens defense. And Jim, the only question that they keep having about him is he going to do his thing, maybe win that title, and then jump back to the NFL, which I always think kind of cheats the kids a little bit. But, that's how it's done, I guess,
Well, his whole thing, I think, when he went in back to Michigan was his alma mater. They haven't been winning. They hadn't been beating Ohio State, which is real big there. So he kind of restored all that. And he got them back to the kind of prominence that they were used to. So for real, his job is kind of done. So the whole thing now is, do I want this easy job where I'm obviously in charge? Basically, nobody can tell me nothing. I'm coaching kids, so I don't have to worry about no racket, no riffraff, no back talk, no nothing. I can make a whole lot of money and live very comfortably. Or do I want to go back to the NFL, prove that I can come back and do it again? Because they already did it once, right? They went to the Super Bowl once with Kaepernick.
He went to the Super Bowl once.
Yeah, went to the Super Bowl once. And, well, I think in his mind, it's like, look, I already went once. If I had stayed, I know I would have won again, and I know I would have eventually won. But I left to go to college. So now I'm going to come back and finish the NFL job, which is to get back again and to win one. Not to mention NFL money trumps college money. I don't know. I don't know how, how he feels about the money, if the money means that much to him. But they said that the agent that he hired has a lot of NFL ties.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay, okay, okay. Um, let's see what else we have here. Oh, thanks for following. Please leave comments and suggestions. Our hashtag is football is life. And you can reach us at www.benandbarry on football. Remember to click the subscribe button and push and ring the notification bell so when we put out videos, you'll know exactly what's happening and be caught up because we come out with the facts, except for Benny. He's got conjecture going for him, but that's okay. That's how it worked with Ben and Barry on football. I'm done, Benny. You got anything else?
No, I'm good to go. Unless you want to talk about that 2-point conversion crap.
Nah.
You don't want to talk about it?
I mean, if you want to talk about it, you can, but
It's a worn out. Well, I mean, I think I sent you something today that was kind of the final word. As far as the league is concerned, the onus is on the player to make sure that they make it clear to the referee that they are eligible, not only by word of mouth, but also by doing this. That's the signal to say that I am an eligible receiver. At that point, they have to line up in the right place on the line of scrimmage to be sure that they are legally an eligible receiver. I think the problem with the Lions was they were trying to be a little bit cute. They were trying to trick the Cowboys, which really doesn't make sense because before the play gets run, they're going to tell the Cowboys who the eligible receiver is. But they sent 3 guys to the referee to try to confuse the Cowboys. And what it ended up doing was confusing the ref. So the guy that was supposed to be eligible, number 68, walked up to him, did like that real fast because he didn't want the Cowboys to see it, thought the ref saw it. The ref saw number 70 running into the game, which he had been doing throughout the game. He was the extra guy coming in throughout the game. So he just said, oh, here comes 70. He's going to be the eligible. I don't know why these other 2 knuckleheads are standing here. And he went over and he told the Cowboys, it's 70.
Okay. All right. That's another aspect to the story that I had not heard. And again, I think the point that you made where they were trying to be cute, and me, I'm one of those people that, when you go for 2 to win the game right then and there, most times coaches are doing it with a lot of bravado, a lot of, this is the brave thing to do. And I personally think what you're basically saying is you don't trust your defense because you could have tied that game up, played some more football, but you didn't trust it. So I think it's more of a scared move than it is
I don't know if I would use the word scared, but let's remember that at that point, the Lions had already clinched. They clinched the division. They clinched their playoff spot. So going for it and not getting it wouldn't have been a terrible thing. So yeah, at that point, it is bravado. I think we can get it. We're going for the win. We're going to do it. Now, here's the thing. Once it doesn't work the first time, whether it's a penalty or whatever, at that point, the smart thing to do is kick, tie it up, and go to overtime. If he didn't want to play in overtime, if he just said, screw it, we're going to win it now or not, that's on him.
And that's what he did.
Yep.
And that's what he did. All right.
And Goff threw a bad pass. He had a guy open and dirtballed it. That guy would have scored. So, again, they don't have nobody to blame but themselves.
Okay. All right. All right.
The refs didn't make a mistake.
Now, let me ask you this question, though.
Hmm?
It didn't help them to win the game? I mean, did it help them to win the game or it just got them out of the game and they didn't lose anything? Win
No,
or
I
score,
don't
don't
think.
score, it didn't really affect their standing.
No, I think they were locked in.
Okay. All right. Well, that adds in some additional motivations and stuff. You start wondering why people do things on the football field.
Right.
Don't always necessarily make football sense. Then
Right.
other motivation. So
Right. And he said he told them before they went on the field to start the drive that when we get down here and when we score, which that's how coaches talk. They don't say if we score, they say when we score. When we score, we're going for 2 to win the game. So once he made that announcement, the players knew that's what was going to happen. So they scored the touchdown. The play got screwed up. At that point, now you got to start, if we have nothing to lose, screw it. Let's bang in that too. And like I said, after the penalty, he threw a pass in the dirt, the guy would have scored. So again, even though the ref made a mistake, they don't have nobody to blame but themselves. They had a second chance at it at the 2, and they screwed it up. And they didn't take the 1. Yeah, that's on them.
all right. All right. Okay. Happy New Year, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Yes, indeed.
This show will be coming out tomorrow. I'll have this all up and published by tomorrow, so look forward to it.
Excellent.
Hey, I do have one last question.
What's that?
How Desiree doing fantasy this year?
Wasn't a good year for her.
No?
No.
Poor baby.
She got beat in the semifinal in my league. She didn't make it to the playoffs in her league, but I did, and I got beat in her semifinal.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. So in my main league, I'm number 1 seed, but that's the league that goes all the way through to the Super Bowl.
Okay.
So I'm still good there for the big money.
All right. All right. Well, send my condolences, baby girl.
Yeah, she's upset, but she'll get over it.
I can imagine. All right. Peace out.
Peace.